Welcome everybody, my name is Michael Buckley and welcome to this 2015 seminar. Today I'm going to show you how to make this classic 3-stone ring, and I've included with this file a folder, and I have a custom toolbox which you can use from this folder once you've downloaded it to your desktop, or you can take this folder, copy it, and then go inside your Artcam files on your desktop, go to your component libraries, and inside your component libraries just right click and paste it in. Alright, and they will be included inside your assembly folder. I've also included the actual file itself for those who just want to open it up and follow along. Okay, so a few things we need to know about the ring before we start is ring finger size is 5.5 finish, so we're going to make it 5 3/4. Center stone is roughly a 2 carat, so we're going to make it 8.3 millimeters. Side stones are 10 pointers, they're going to be 3s, and then of course the little Pave diamonds will probably be 1 millimeter stone, 1 pointers. Okay, so we're going to start with a new project. And we're going to go over to assembly, right hand side, and then we're just going to go down to the component libraries. And if you don't bring up your custom toolbox, I'll show you how to find it. Just go to new, go to your desktop, scroll down until you find the custom tool settings, go OK, and it will open them up right here. Alright, so let's pick our stones. So we've got a center stone is an 8.3, so we want roughly about a 7.9. So we're going to select this and we're going to go 7.9. We're going to import it. And then the other stones are 3 millimeters, so we're going to go 3 millimeters and we're going to import that as well. Alright, let's close this tool down. Alright, so this new assembly we're just going to rename 7.9 millimeter, and this is already 3.19, so let's just shut that down. Alright, so now we are ready to start to build the main body of the ring. We're going to do that in the rotary axis, which is different from everything else we've done in the past. So let's go into the rotary axis and we're going to call this ring top / shank. We're going to do them both at the same time. American, it's size 5 3/4 because it needs to finish 5.5, so we make it a quarter of a size bigger. The model must be 20, no border, and the thickness 3.5 is from the bottom of the finger to the top of the ring right here. These stones will sit a little bit higher. And let's go ahead and accept this box. Alright, so you want to go ahead and save. I'm just going to call it a classic ring. And let's close out of this tool. Alright, so what we want to do is let's start the drawing from the side view. Right here. So we're going to select the center line, copy paste it, Control CV. We're just going to move it all the way up, right up to the top. Bring up the mirror tool and mirror over model. Okay, the only difference is these two lines we don't want on the reference layer, we want it on your default layer, which we're actually going to rename sweep. Okay, and then we're going to move these two to that sweep layer. So we're going to right click, move vectors to sweep. Alright, so now we're working on this layer right here. Let's keep it organized. So still on the sweep layer, we are going to now draw cross section. Okay, we're going to go to node editing and we're going to remove that spam right out of there. So R for remove spam, and escape will take you back out. Let's do a quick save. Alright, so we are now ready to do our sweep. So we can select rail number 1, rail number 2, cross section, the Z height, and our rotary tools are not here. So I actually have them built into it right here. If you don't have them in here, to bring them up, put your mouse anywhere in this area, right click, and let's get the rotary tools out. There they are there. Okay, we just want to select the sweep. Okay, so everything's live. That looks good. So we're going to apply. You must apply. And then immediately the apply wants to apply again. So we don't need to apply it again. So we're going to cancel it out. Alright, so there are a few ways of getting our stones up onto here. We can move them in the assembly up into place. But there is a faster and easier way. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw the size of our stone, which was 7.9. So let's draw a circle, 7.9. Create, cancel, make sure it's in the center, press in F9. And then I'm going to use this vector to bring this into place. So I'm going to highlight this right there. Make sure it's active. And select this copy components to vectors. And you'll see now, make sure we keep vectors, scale vectors, lay on composite, and position it around the ring is what we want. So we're going to go OK, hit OK. And that moves it straight up and puts it exactly where we want to be. So if you think it's a bit high, you can always go to the nudge tool and you can nudge it down a bit. So let's just do that. So let's just bring it down. Let's go 0.2. Let's just bring it down. Whoops, not that one. The new one that we just moved, which is this one right here. Nudge at 0.2. That looks good right there. Okay, so let's turn this one off. We don't need to see that one anymore. In fact, we finished with that one. We can take this one and delete it right now. Take it and delete it. Alright, so we've got our side stones now. Need to go on here. Once again, we can drag them up into position. But we'll get it faster and more accurate if we just draw a 3mm circle. Create. And then I want to draw one more in the position of 0. So I'm just going to go 0, 0, and draw one more in the position of 0. Alright, so take this one, and I'm just going to move it into position. I want it just to be slightly tucked into that one, but I don't want it over this line on this side. I want it just a little bit away like that. All right, and then we are going to mirror this over the model. Now we can use this one that I made now. You can just use the arrow keys and drag it along. Let's zoom in and put it right there. Okay, so we can select all three of these and we can mirror them to the opposite side. Alright, so with these highlighted, let's now go to the 3 by 1.5s. Okay, make sure that they are selected. Go to this tool, select it, and once again, make sure they're all checked, hit OK. Alright, so there is a little bit of a gap here. I'd like to have closed the gap. So let's grab this one right here and delete this copy. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete this side. I'm going to move these just a little bit closer inside like that. Alright. In fact, let's just do one rather than do two. We'll mirror it over. Let's do the same thing. We select this box again. Go down to copy component. And alright, so I want to get them closer this time. So this time I'm going to use the nudge tool to get them exactly. So these are the three here. I'm going to highlight this one. I'm going to go to the nudge tool. And it's going to be around wall center using the red. Let's do 1 degree at a time, and there we go. Let's go 0.05. Let's go fraction back. There we go. So they just are touching that center. Let's go one more. There we go. All right, so that's good. Let's do a save. Okay, so let's do some tidying up immediately. We don't need this STL anymore. I'm going to go and delete it. Okay, we minimize that, and this one here now, we are going to mirror this, highlight it, go to the mirror tool, and select this one, mirror it left and right is the bottom. Alright, so they're in place. I'm going to drag this folder, we keep it clean. I'm going to drag this folder and drop it inside this one. So left click, drag, let go of the mouse, and it drops it inside that folder. Alright, since all three of them have been in the same folder, I'm going to drag and drop again. I'm going to drag this inside this folder and let it stay where it is, and let's do a hard save. Alright, so those are in place. Okay, that looks pretty good. We might want to sink the whole top a little bit more down. So let's just go another 0.2 down, maybe even one more, 0.2 again. There we go, that looks much nicer. You can also select the side stones and obviously bring those down a little bit more as well. But I think that looks good. Alright, so it's time to put our prongs into place now. So let's turn this off and let's go back to assembly. And let's just make this a bit smaller. Let's go to the component library again. And let's go, we'll need the Pave prong, but we'll bring it out later. So let's scroll down and let's go and pick out the 2x9. Let's use the 2x9. So let's bring it out. Import it. Okay. And just for a quick reference, let's see. No, I think it'll be fine. Okay, so let's just turn this off for now. All right, so we're going to need basically, let's see. We're going to need one prong here. Let's turn these arrows off. We're going to need one prong here, which we're going to mirror to the opposite side. So these ones need to be independent. And then we need 1, 2, 3 prongs that are going down the center. So let's do the first lot. Okay, so let's draw our prongs. Let's put, that is, what size is that prong? 0.9, so let's draw a circle, 0.9. So we want one there, control, one there. Those are the two we're going to go and mirror. So let's do them both, select them both. Let's close that menu. Let's go back to the front, select this layer. And grab the small prong. Actually, I'm going to rename this so we know what's going on here. Let's rename this prong. Okay, I'm going to grab this prong, copy components. With those two selected, let's go and have a look at it, and let's go OK. All right, so it's put them in place, and now you can decide, are they too high, too low? Let's put them all on. We'll probably be able to move them all at once. Okay, so those two are good. Those two need to be mirrored. So this one here are those two. Take this one, and we're going to mirror it left over right. Okay, so those 4 in place. Now we need the other 3. All right, so I'm just going to control, let's put this in the center. So shift, select this line, put it into the middle. And then this one needs to move all the way down. So I'm holding my Control and Alt at the same time to keep it in this plane. And then the center one I'm going to bring back. Oops, I need to make a copy of that first. So holding down Control and Alt, bringing this into the middle. But you can clearly see this needs to be a fatter prong. So I'm going to go to E4 Edit, and I'm just going to increase the size of this prong right there. All right. So let's go ahead and select these two first. Grab the one prong by itself. Copy component. Okay. Now the reason why I didn't grab the one in the center is because it's going to scale, and I didn't want it to put all three of them inside one folder. All right, so let's just tidy this up a bit, otherwise we're going to get long lists of files here. All these prongs need to be inside one folder. So drag, drop, okay? And let's call this, rename 6 prongs. Side. Okay, so I know that these are intact, those three are intact. And now let's go back to the one prong by itself, which is larger. Select the one prong again, make sure you select the one prong again, and I want it to scale it, so it will actually scale it to the size of our vector as well. So let's go, okay, so let's put the one prong in. All right, so that one prong, I'm just going to move it so it's in a better spot, this one prong. So to move prongs, you select the prong, okay, you select the prong, and you go to this folder right here, which is lay on surface. Okay, I'm selecting it, but do a hard save first. In case you select the wrong thing, there's no undo here. So this prong needs to come just slightly more back. So I'm just going to bring it just slightly more back, like that. All right, and I can move it down. Component center, let's go down 0.2. So it drops it down as well. All right, so that looks good. Let's do a hard save. All right, so we don't need this little prong inside there. So I'm going to take this prong, right click and delete it. Okay, so you can decide once again if you want to bump these prongs down a bit. So let's go to prong, the 6 prongs on their own, and let's just bump them down. If you feel they're sticking up a bit too high, let's go, okay, so let's go down component center once, and let's go once down the green. Did I go the right way? Yes, I went the right way. All right, so it's one down blue and one down green, and that will put them right back. All right, so let's copy these to the opposite side. Go back to your mirror tool, and left override is this option. And once again, let's tidy this up. So this needs to go inside this folder. So we're going to left click, drag and drop. And the one folder prong by itself needs to be copied to the opposite side now as well. And that needs to drag and drop inside there. And of course, both of those go all together inside there. All right, so the only thing we need to add on now are the main prongs, but all of this could be actually inside the same folder. There's no reason for the bezels to be separate. So I'm going to drag and drop again and put them inside that folder. Let's do another hard save. All right, so let's keep this in order. So let's go ahead and let's just rename this top ring. All right, so if we turn this on and off, we now know that we are looking at the top of the ring. All right, so let's go and add in our center prong now. So go assembly, go down to your component library, and let's go and pick the 4 by 1.2 prong, and let's import it. back into, and let's position our prong, which is going to be 1.2. 1.2. And if you want it a little bit fatter, you can make this 1.3, and it'll scale that prong to 1.3. So let's move a little bit in, say about there. And now I'm going to do the same things. We're going to move this prong, component center. Make sure they're all checked. Position of prong is checked and puts it right where we want to be. Okay. So this main prong we don't need anymore. I'm going to right click and delete it. Alright, so let's take this one prong as we have now and let me nudge it down. So we're going to go to the nudge tool and let's go one, whoops, make sure you're on component center so it moves straight down in our line, and let's get it roughly where we want it to be. So let's move it a little bit more, one more, and then let's move it in, let's bring it a little bit more in green and in red. So component center brings a little bit more in red as well. Let's put a little bit more in red, once more in green, and let's look at that. Let's bring a little bit more back. I think that was too far. And back in green. Yeah, I think that position there is a better position. These prongs move completely off the surface of these. Okay, when you do it, just make sure that these prongs, you see there's a gap in between here. If you're printing this will be bad news. This prong needed to be more against this. I think when we moved them, I moved them away. Alright, but so far that looks good. So let's take this main prong now and I'm going to mirror it left over right and then copy drop, drag and drop, main copy, select it again, and I'm going to mirror it north over south and drag and drop, and of course drag and drop everything inside the main folder, and that is basically the top of the ring done. Do a hard save. Right, so you can see it's much easier to move things around the assembly area without having to nudge, move it, although once you get used to nudging it wasn't all that hard to do anyway. Alright, so there is the top done. Now we can start to work on the section, the Pave section around the top. So let's go into this view here, and I'm going to create a new layer in vectors, new layer, and I'm going to call it Pave top. Enter. Make sure I'm working on this layer, and let's actually remove all of these. You know, rather than delete them, I'm going to put them on their own layer, because you never know when you might need them again. So rather than delete them, just move them to a new layer. Just rename this layer original vectors stones. Enter. And then I'm just going to hide it away. I'm going to use the assembly to redraw where everything is for me. So selecting the assembly, just redraw where everything is. All right. So basically, we're going to have a row of stones that go around you. Now we could make just a smooth row of stones so the outside of the ring is really smooth, but I think it's nicer if it actually scallops as well. Alright, so let's have a look how to do that. So I'm going to take the polyline tool. I'm going to just pick a random point, sort of, let's pick it right on the end. Let's go click on the end, right in the middle of that prong there. I'm going to say about somewhere somewhere there. We're going to adjust it afterwards. And then let's see if that's above that. Let's go slightly outside this area there. Just very slightly. Give it a click. Alright, so go to node editing. Let's make this into an arc, and an arc, and then just drag them down so they kind of look okay. Let's bring this a little bit more in, a little bit more out, a little bit more in, a little bit more out. Let's bring this a little bit more in as well. Okay, so this is just a visual for me right now. Alright, let's say I'm happy with that. We'll try this out. So I'm going to mirror this to the right side. Okay, and before I do that, I'm going to make sure that this node is a smooth node again, so it evens it out. And when we flip it this way, we're going to make sure it's a smooth node as well. So we're going to go to bottom, and since they are joined, we're going to hit smooth once and twice. All right, so still not sure if this is okay, because that's what we are doing. We are designing the ring in Artcam. So this looks like it might need it to be dragged a little bit more out, but let's see. All right, so we've got a stone that's going to be going somewhere here, 1.1. 1.1, even though the stones are a millimeter, we need it to be slightly larger. And let's offset this. That's enough of a gap there. So let's grab this line and let's just offset it. O for offset. Let's drag this up to there. And let's drag it down again inside this line, way inside the line here. Let's go and delete that. I want to try and keep this sharp. So let's select this, select sharp on the menu, and let's bring it in again. So let's try and see if we can keep it sharp. Okay, that looks good right there. All right, before we get ahead of ourselves, let's just do some basic work first. Otherwise, we'll be drawing, deleting, drawing, deleting, drawing, deleting. We cannot. Don't have time to waste. So let's do a hard save. Let me just paste these on this line and see how it works. So whenever you get a kink in the line, the line has to be cut. So let's go to the scissors tool. And I'm going to cut this line right there. And I might leave this might be cut depending on how it places it for us. So let's leave it alone for now. Let's go to node editing and let's put our mouse right in this little kink here. Cut. C for cut. Go to this area here. C for cut. Press C for cut. And for some reason that didn't cut anything. So let's do it again. So node, C for cut, C for cut, and zoom in there, C for cut. All right, so let's take this and let's paste it on this line. 1, 2, 3, and let's bring up the paste along a vector, and let's use distance. Let's make sure that make spacing even is checked. The stones are 1.1. Let's go 1.2 and let's see what kind of spacing we get. Alright, so this is a bit tight here. Alright, so I'm going to try something else here. These look good. And these here might be a bit tight, so let's try something else. So grab these and delete them. I'll show you a trick that I'll try and do. Let's take this line. It's node editing. So let's go to N for node editing. And let's just remove this. Not remove, let's just cut that vector as well. Alright, so this vector, because they were a bit tight, I'm just going to copy it to the opposite side. Bottom. And we're going to try and paste them on this line and see if we get a better layout. So let's try that again. So here we go. Select that, that, and this time it's just halfway. Let's see if the result's the same. And paste. Alright, so this looks a little bit more even now. Okay, so that is going to work. Okay, so let's do a hard save. So as you know, when we copy these, we have duplicates right there and right there. So I want to just ungroup all. Okay, deselect that one and deselect that one, and then actually deselect. I don't know if I can deselect them again. Let's group those. And let's just lasso that one and delete it. And then let's lasso that one and delete it. Alright, so that worked. So let's put in our prongs now. So to put in prongs, we have to go to node edit and we have to cut this line right in the center. Right there, we're going to go cut. Same side here. Find the middle and go cut. So we can paste those prongs inside there. This is 1, 2, 3. We might as well do them here as well. You're just going to go cut, cut, and this side we'll do as well. Although this probably be faster if we just manually do it. But let's do cut and cut so we can get it where it's meant to be. All right, so let's draw our prongs. So 0.45 is probably good. And I'm going to hold down my Control and Alt. And basically I'm just going to get the two prongs pretty close to each other like that. Group them both. And so here we're going to paste 1, 2, 3 along this line here. So bring up, we want to go numbers this time, so we want to go 3, paste, those are in place. Here we've got 1, 2, 3 as well. We could have done them both at the same time. And here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we select those and we change it to 7. All right. So let's grab all of the prongs and group them. 1, 2, 3. Group them, and just for fun, I'm going to move them to their own layer. So move vectors to their own layer, which is a new layer for now. We're going to right click and we're going to rename these. Will be let's make it Pave prongs. Enter. And then we can grab just our stones and we're going to move those to a layer on their own. Move vectors to a new layer and let's right click and rename those stones. And enter. Alright, let's do a hard save. Alright, so let's complete the rest of our vector drawing. So we want to offset these lines here, so let's join them all up again. So shift, select, 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 and select those. Hit J for join. Tells you there's 9, there's going to be 1. We'll join them all together. So now they're joined as 1. Take the scissors tool again. Give this a snip right in between those. Let's delete that. And we're going to mirror this. We need to snip this as well. Bring up the snipping tool again, and right inside there, we're going to snip it right there. All right, so we're going to mirror this to the right side and over the bottom. Everything still looks good, and now we're going to move it out the same distance to the opposite side. So go to the offset and just drag it to there, and then we're going to offset this an exact amount. So 0.4 inwards. Oops, sorry, it's outwards. Alright, so this represents now the outer edge of our ring. Do another hard save. Alright, so let's tidy up a little bit here. Alright, so these are our original vectors. It's fine. So when we start to build the body of the ring, we're going to have a couple of layers as well. So let's look at how we actually create. Let's bring this in here. Just close it off. How we isolate this into two layers, one representing the top and one representing the bottom. All right, so on the front relief and back relief, so what we do is we need this sweep we have here on the front, which is it is, as you can see, but we also want it on the back. Here. So let's rename this. We're going to call it base. It's our original base, so I'm going to right click, duplicate this base, and then I'm going to right click again and swap sides. And this layer, I'm just going to go and delete this layer for now. Alright, so with both vectors on now, they cancel themselves out. Alright, so now so whenever we go and subtract from one of the surfaces now, the value of whatever is left over will remain. So to get the basic shape, let's take our base copy and select the outside vector, working on the back. We select the outside vector, and we're going to bring up the shape editor. So F12. This is the cool part about working live. Let's put it on to start to drag this shape out. And let's get an angle we like. So let's say I kind of like something around about -72. It's a nice sort of steepish angle. Okay, the sides are nice and smooth is what we are looking for. We're going to apply and cancel. Alright, so this is really, for people who are not used to working in layers, this is when you need to have your game on here. So you need to watch close what's going on here. This now, I cannot limit the height of this. Let me explain to you why I cannot limit the height of this. Because this has a different heights. So if I was to limit the height to 3.5, it would be fine there, but it would be coming more and more inside here because this is limiting it to 3.5 all the way around. So we cannot use in the shape editor the option of limit to height. Okay, it's just something we can't use. So how do we crop this inside away now? Okay, well, there's an easy way of doing this. Okay, you just create a second layer here on the back. I'm not going to do it yet. Let's get our, actually we might as well do it right now. So let's just right click, create a new layer. So I'm working on the back. Okay, I'm going to call this inside trim. Hit enter. And this new layer that we made, the reason why it's not doing anything at the moment is because the layer is set to add. If you just highlight the layer and set it to merge high, it will now trim that away. But it's still a solid mess, but that's okay because we can get to see kind of what it looks like. Okay. So what we can do is we can merge both these layers into one. So we don't have to worry about 2 layers anymore. So let me show you how to do that. You just right click and you merge whatever is visible. And I'm just going to rename this trimmed layer. Alright, so now I can work with one layer and I don't have to worry about all these light bulbs now. Alright, so far so good. Alright, so now we can start to trim the inside pave section away. So what we're going to do is just make a duplicate layer over the base. So I'm going to make a duplicate layer again. Turn our base off. And this is going to be renamed again. Pave slot. Alright, so let's go ahead and select the 2 inside lines where the pave cutout is going to be. So this line here, shift this line here, bring up the shape editor, F12, and let's start to cut this down. The advantage here is we can limit the height. So we can limit the height to 0.4. Okay, it's all nice and smooth. We're going to go up. Let's make it just a little bit more back, just a little bit more, and apply and cancel. Alright, so now we can add in our prongs. Okay, so since we're going to be mirroring prongs, we just want to ungroup all of these, and then holding the shift, let's deselect let's select the ones you want to keep. So let's ungroup these as well. Ungroup all. And then holding down the shift key, let's deselect the ones we don't need. So those 3 we don't need. And these will be duplicates on themselves. Now if you're growing, it's not good to have duplicates. But in this case, we're going to be machining it, so I'm going to leave them in. And let's select those. And let's select those. And for now, let's just group those. Alright, so let's go and put the prongs in position. So we're going to do them all at once. So let's go to the assembly area again. Let's go down to our library. And there is a pave prong. Let's just select it. It's 0.5. Let's import, let's make it well, it'll scale the vector, so we don't have to worry about that again. Let's bring it out. So there's our one little prong in position. Let's close that menu out. Alright, so selecting this one prong, let's go and grab our vectors, which are still highlighted. Okay, so you make sure you select all the pave prongs. Now, sometimes it works grouped and sometimes it doesn't. So I'm just going to ungroup these temporary. So ungroup vectors, ungroup all. With that highlighted, let's go to the component library and position, make sure they're all checked again, and let's put them all on at once. Okay, so something you want to do, these prongs when they come in have got a color to them already. If the ring is going to be in platinum, make sure you change the color of one prong, because afterwards you'll have to come back one at a time and change all of these, and it will drive you insane. So let me show you that. Let's just go and delete this to show you what you have to do. We'll do the step again. So the one prong that's in there has a color to it already. Let's go to assembly and let's set it back to, Let's set it back to a blue wax. Assembly. Let's set this back to blue wax as well. Alright, so everything in the assembly area is now a blue wax. So that's also one way of telling the assembly apart from your relief folders, because you can't really tell which ones are which because they're the same color. So by making the assembly area a different color like I've done here, we can also tell that this is the assembly and this is a relief. Alright, so now we can select that one prong again. All those prongs are still highlighted. Let's go and select this copy component, go OK, and all those prongs are now in place. Okay, so these prongs need to be copied. So let's scroll all the way up. The one prong we might need to go for the ring, so I'm just going to turn it off for now. I'm going to close this so everything shrinks down. Select this and mirror it left over right. So this is left over right. Drag and drop inside one folder and then mirror it again north over south. And I'm going to drag and drop them again. Alright, let's do a hard save. Alright, last but not least, let's go now and punch out our holes here and trim it down to its right size. So we're going to select these vectors, offset, just drag them inwards, right click, group them all, bring up the shape editor, and just watch yourself, just make a nice little spot just for the tool to sit in. Go apply, cancel. Oops, these are upside down, my mistake, so Control Z, Control Z again, and let's drag it down this time so it goes inwards, apply, cancel. Alright, once again, we mirror, left over right, top over bottom. Alright, so we're doing good. So the reason why we're starting to get these lines on here is because the mirror action is causing the back not to agree with the front. So let's go to the trimmed layer and let's do the same. We're just going to mirror left over right, and that will obviously go and fix it. That must be a bug. I don't understand why it does that. So maybe the artwork was slightly off, so it was raised slightly on one side. That's possible. It's probably exactly what's going on. Our original artwork, let me tell you, the original artwork down here is not exactly symmetrical, and that's probably why. But okay. Alright, so the top is done. All we've got to do is remove the inside. So to remove the inside is easy. We go to the Pave set, grab the inside section, go back to 3D, and let's bring up the shape editor, make a nice cone, and let's sink it down. So now we can hide the assembly so we can see what's going on. Like that. Apply. And then last but not least, we need to trim this away now so we can add it to the assembly. Let's do a hard save before we do that. Okay, so to trim this part is quite easy. Let's go back to the 2D view, and we're going to offset this line however thick you want the top to be. So let's say the top needs to be 1.2. So let's go 1.2 inwards, and there we are there. Okay. So all I'm going to do is on the back, I'm going to make a new layer and turn this off for now. I'm going to sweep this new vector that we made. Oops, let's undo that move. Let's close this menu out. That's why it does that. Let's do a sweep. So apply, cancel. Let's make sure that that's just swept it lower. make sure we've got all our layers turned on. Alright, so we need the original trimmed layer plus the new sweep layer we've just made. This is the new sweep layer we just made right here. So let's have a look at that. This is the new sweep we just did. We need to show the trimmed layer from underneath. Okay. And we have now trimmed that away. We can now add this to the assembly. Close with the back relief, create. And this is top plate, enter, add to project. Okay, that's the top. The bottom plate, which is what we have to work on now. So let's turn off the trimmed. So we expose the whole plate. And let's go back to our base. So let's turn off the Pave slot as well. And let's turn on just the base. So we get back to where we are again. So once again, we mirrored. So let's go back and mirror this layer as well. That's why it's not showing up left over right. So that fixes that. And now all we have to do here is we have to cut the top down. Okay, so to cut the top down, that's easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a copy of this base so we don't ruin anything. So I'm just going to make a duplicate of this base, turn this one off, and then just rename this one bottom plate. All right, so the bottom plate is highlighted. Okay, the back remains the same. So the top, let's go to the 2D view, draw one very big rectangle, bring up the shape editor, and set it to however thick you want it to be. So let's set it to, let's say it needs to be 1 mil, and we're going to merge low. And that's going to cut the top right down, and it's going to leave the angles that we have. Apply and cancel. Let's do a hard save. Alright, so now what we want to do is we want to cut a pattern into this plate. Alright, so let's go and turn off our layers. Let's turn off our stones, turn off our prongs. Let's just see what happened there. Why those moved to stones, I don't know. So what we need to do is, let's just see. It's hard for us to work out what the actual size of the bottom of the plate is. We don't know this actual size. So if we were to make a new vector layer right now. Okay, let's just make a new vector layer here. I'll show you. Let's just make a new vector layer. Call this bottom. Design, enter. And let's isolate it by itself. So put my mouse on this light bulb. I'm going to right click. Just this, only this layer is in view now. Let's go back to the 3D view, turn the assembly on, and I'm going to add this to the assembly as it is first. So let's add it to the assembly as it is first. So close with the back relief, create, bottom shank, test. Add to project. Okay, so now I can turn off the top of this. So I can turn off these three and just leave the bottom one exposed, and go to assembly and redraw. And now we'll get an exact size of our bottom plate. Okay, since we only drew this as a test, I'm going to right click and delete it. We don't need anything to block up our space here. So let's do another hard save. Alright, so this is a pattern we can now use. So let's go to our offset. Let's ungroup it. Let's go to offset. And let's go inwards let's go 1 millimeter inwards. Let's see what we get. So that's our first layer. That's our second layer. That'll be good. So that's our first, second layer. Actually, let's just go one more and see if it implodes in itself. No, that's good. All right, so we just need them to be held with some kind of a vector. So let's put this on an angle of 45. F9 puts it into the center, and then of course let's just make sure that this is all joined as well. F9 will put that into the center. All right, so these areas we want removed, so let's just give them a color. It'll be easier to do this, so let's pick green, flat fill, and then we want this area here to be removed. Okay, and we want to put the bridge in place, so we can mirror this if you want to. So let's select this and let's make it white. Flat fill, this one needs to be white, flat fill, and then of course this one needs to be white, flat fill. So the green area is just the area we want to take and remove on its own. So let's go and have a look what it's going to look like. So let's turn on the colors so we can see what it's going to look like. Turn our vectors off, and the white area will be the pattern that is left over. So let's select the green, and let's give it a cut to make sure that it gets nice smooth sides again. Let's zoom in. That looks pretty good. Okay, so let's apply and cancel. I don't know if I like this. Might have been nicer if we just trimmed the inside out. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to select this area here, and I'll bring up the shape editor and just merge low. Actually, let's see what happens if we do trim this away altogether. I think that is a nicer. I'll leave it up to you. You can decide whatever you want to do. So let's just go apply, cancel. I'm going to use that as the bottom plate. All right, so the bottom plate is now done. Let's add it to the assembly. Close with the back relief, create. This is bottom, and add to project. All right, let's do a hard save. Now it's time for us to work on the shank. Right, so let's go File, Close Model. Let's put everything together. So let's put on the top and the Pave prong and the Pave plate and the Pave. So let's see Pave copy. Let's make sure. All right, so we need to clean up the shop again. Problem. We need to cut these prongs shorter. Those need to be trimmed. So I'll show you how to trim these away. Okay, so what we would have to do is we'd have to select the center prongs again, scale them smaller so that they would fit inside here. The problem was because I shrunk them down. They've now come through the bottom of our plate. Prongs. Whoops, not up. Let's go into our top plate. These are our main prongs. We put them in their own folder. If you turn it off, you can see those are the main prongs. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to scale them all together down, and hopefully that's going to fix it. So at the moment it's 4.18. Now there's no undo, so let's just do a save first. Let's scale this down to, let's say 4. Let's scale it down to 3 and see what happens. Okay, so let's nudge them up again, back into position. So straight up. Alright, so they're back in place and they are not coming through the bottom anymore. Alright, so that was a fast fix. Alright, so let's add on the shank. So we're going to go to models, and I'm going to make a new model for our shank. So let's go and open it up. Let's keep everything the same. The only thing I'm going to do is the pave and the shank is going to be a little bit less. So I'm going to make this 2.75. And we'll accept everything other than just lowering this height here. 2.7. Let's make it 2.65. 2.65. It's probably going to be less than that even. 2.65. Let's make it 2.35 and accept it. Alright, so let's get our shank into view. Let's go back to assembly. Let's get it to draw where everything is for us. Okay, and now we can add in our shank. So once again, we want 1.5, 1.6 at the bottom. So I'm just going to offset this 1.6, 1.6. It's outwards. Offset, and then I'm going to remove all those nodes. We're going to convert to regular shapes. Just click in circles. And now I'm going to insert a node there. And let's make the shank just a little bit wider at this point. Okay, so the thickness was way too much, as you can see. I should have made the thickness a lot less, although the diamonds would be almost at this height. So it's okay. I think that's pretty good. Let's bring that a little bit more up. Convert this into a straight line. So pressing L for line. Let's drag this down inside there. And I want it to go just a little bit into the model itself. All right. Let's look at that and see if that actually looks... It looks good right there. All right, so stones in our shank are going to be 1.5, so we're going to make them 1.6, diameter 1.6. We're going to copy paste. We're going to move that to, let's make sure this is centered on the line first. So shift, select the line, and then use your top or bottom arrow, lines it up. So that would go there, and then let's just offset that 0.4 inwards. Okay, and I want it to flare slightly here, so let's go to node editing. Let's put in a node right there. Node editing, I for insert, and I for insert there, and B for bezier there. And I just want it to flare right where it joins the shank a little bit, so the join just gets a little bit wider. Just take this a little bit more out. Alright, also looks a little bit nicer. Okay, this line we probably don't need, so I'm going to delete it. Let's offset this inwards again. So 0.4, it's actually outwards. And then let's mirror this to the opposite side, so over model. And once again, let's just draw a vector. Okay, go to node editing and just bring this a little bit in, so we create a little bit of an angle. Remove the spam, and mirror this to the right. Okay. So let's go and select line 1, line 2, cross section, and our shank, and let's do the sweep. Let's get back to our colors. That blends in pretty well right there. Need to pull it in a little bit more. See, it's leaving a little bit of a gap right there. Right there. See that? Let's get rid of this. You can see that gap is not enough there. So let's go back and fix that. So this needs to be adjusted. So just pull this a little bit more in, and that should update. Because this is all live. There you go. You don't have to do the sweep again. I'm thinking of doing some more. I'm going to grab it. I'm going to put it up higher because I want to pull this a little bit more in. So let's just grab this. Let's go up. Let's pull this a little bit more in as well. Let's go back and look at that. So that's kind of updating. That's fine. So now when we trim this away, let's bring it down just a fraction, just a tad down. All right, that looks good. Okay, so we're going to accept that, apply, cancel, and now we can trim this away. So I'm just going to ungroup this, and I'm just going to offset it a little bit in. Delete this line, we don't need it, and then bring up the shape editor, or you can remove the inside. So let's bring this up so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to remove the inside. Okay, so that joins quite nicely onto there. I'm happy with that. Not happy with that. Let's undo that move. So to get this to cut in a straight line down, we're going to use the shape editor. So rather than just zero it away, I'm going to take the shape editor and I'm going to trim it, watching the inside line now. Just watch this inside line here as it goes back, back, back until a point where we can just grab it nicely. Let's go a little bit more. Yeah, that looks good. Apply, cancel. All right, we're good. Let's put our stones in place now. So we can merge high here if you want to get rid of that brown in the center. Let's put our pave in. All right, so let's cut this area out. So we want stones to go roughly from about, let's say, there to, so we're going to pick a point. We're going to say, okay, we want it to be on our stones, so go from there to about there. Let's paste them on a line. So take this, shift, so that's 1.6. We're going to paste them on a line. Let's make them 1.75, 1.8, 1.8. Paste. They're too far apart, so let's see how many we have here. So ungroup all. Properties, we have 9 stones. Let's see what happens if we put in 10 stones. There we go. So let's see how much gap we. So make sure you highlight them, ungroup them first, and then. Okay, that's good. group them back up again, and now we can cut our slot out. So let's go to node editing and let's cut the line. Escape, do that again. Node editing, cut. And remove that. If there isn't a cut on your line there, just go and cut the line there. And delete that. Let's do a hard save. Right, so now we're going to mirror this line. Over the line, and we are going to join the ends up. Whoops, not with round. Let's undo that. Select them both and join them with straight lines. Alright, let's get our prongs into position. 0.5 is fine. Select them both, group them, and we want to go node editing, remove, so we're going to cut there, and paste line stones. Okay, those can go on the end. Line them up with those. Shift down arrow. And we need one more copy for this end up here. Alright, if we're going to put stones on, this would be a great time to put the stones on first. Since we're going to be rendering this, let's go to assembly. Let's pick out a gem. Round brilliant. Doesn't matter about the size, just accept it. Okay, so take our round gem. Those are all grouped. Let's ungroup them. Ungroup all. Go OK, and those gems are in place. Okay, now we're going to right click, group them again, bring up our shape editor, and let's cut our slot for where our stones are going to go. Let's hide the gems for now, so we can see what we're doing, and let's limit the height. Let's limit the height to 0.6. Apply, cancel. Okay, let's select all our prongs. Select those and those, ungroup all. The Pave prong is a small little round prong. Let's make sure. It's inside our gem. There it is there. Let's turn it off. That's the little Pave prong we're going to be using. So we're going to select the Pave prong. Make sure all our prongs are selected, and look at the shank, and let's apply them into their position. Go OK. Do a save. Alright, so let's group those again, and then let's just offset these inwards. We're going to group those, and we're just going to cut a little seat out. Apply, cancel. Right. Hard save. So we're going to mirror left over right. Mirror left over right. Okay, so the Pave prongs, let's turn them on. Our gems and prongs need to be inside the same folder. So our gems and prongs need to be inside the same folder. So copy, paste, drop them in. So they both go in the same folder. And we're going to mirror them to the opposite side, left over right. And last but not least, let's add our shank back to the assembly. So let's do a hard save. Close with a flat plane. It's our shank, add to project. File, close model. Okay, do another hard save. All right, so let's put our prongs, our Pave prongs and shank need to be in the same folder. So drag and drop, and drag and drop. Okay, and now let's go and put the little circles in here. We're going to get them from the assembly once again. And we can use, let's go back to primitives and let's just use the, so 3x3 is too big. Let's go to 1.5 by 1.5. Import it. Let's change its color to blue wax. Blue wax, and we don't need the stone inside it. Oh, that's not our stone. So, all right, let's get rid of what we don't need. So we're going to need this gem. The Pave prong we do not need anymore. We've finished with Pave prong, so let's go and delete this. Clean up a little bit here. And let's leave that pretty much like it is. Although you can agree that the shank needs to be, the bottom plates need to be together. But if you're going to machine it, I'm going to keep them separate for now. You can always join them afterwards. All right, so this needs to be turned around the green axis. 90 degrees. Let's make sure we center it again. Center object, and then just move it straight up. Let's just set world center back as well, makes it easier to move. And now let's just move it straight up. Let's go 12. I don't know if it's too much, too little. Way too much. So let's come down 1. Okay, let's move it out in red 1. And let's scale it. It's still a little bit big, so let's just scale it. Let's go 1.6. Okay, 1.6 there as well. Do a hard save because there's no backup on this, and apply. All right, so that was okay. Let's move it down a little bit more. So let's nudge it down 0.1. And let's turn it so it sits at the right angle. So it's going to be turned around the green. And let's keep on component center. Let's go 2 degrees at a time. Okay, let's go a little bit more, and let's go back in red now. Okay, going to copy, paste, and let's move it around red. 10 degrees around wall center. And let's move it back into position. So it's going to be turned slightly around blue, but let's move it back into position first. So let's go 1 mil, component center, and let's turn it around now around the blue 10 degrees, other way. And a little bit more down, 0.1. And let's push it back in red, 0.1 as well. Alright, so this one we're going to mirror to the opposite side. So let's close these down a bit. Mirror this to left and right first. Drag and drop, mirror to north and south. And drag and drop. Let's do a hard save. Okay, so let's put our gems in. So let's go to our ring top shank. This folder up here, let's open it up. And let's turn everything back into view so we can see. So there's our stones. Let's turn the assembly off for now. And let's bring back our base, which is fine. Just bring back the base layer. I'm not concerned about this, so just bring back the base. Let's bring back our gems. So let's grab all the gems. So all of those, ungroup, and deselect those few. Let's group those. Alright, so we'll put these all on in one hit. So actually let's just do them all in one hit. So I'm going to mirror, ungroup again, and just deselect this one here. Let's group these and mirror across model, over model, and let's group them all for now. Round gem. Okay, let's put them all in place. So let's just do a save. And last but not least, let's do our round stones. Okay, so they'll be the same. We're going to select 1, 2, 3. Let's do these 3. Round gem, lay on surface. Okay, so these need to be bumped up. So I'm just going to select them and bump them up. Up in blue and then up in green. And then up in blue. And one more in green. Okay, so let's put them in place. We mirror them to the opposite side. Mirror to the opposite side, so left over right. Let's clean this up. Drag and drop inside here. And the last one to add in is our center stone. So take our center stone, round brilliant, and lay in place. Alright, so let's file, close model. I'm not going to save that. Center stone just needs to go up, so round stone, let's move that straight up. Wall center. Alright, this little stone we don't need, we can remove it. Alright, let's close the assembly down. And last but not least, let's clean up. So these two need to go inside. So those are our stones. Those are our stones. And these are the little round tubes inside there. They need to go with the shank. And that's normally I would fold them all into one, but this is pretty much where I'm going to leave it because we're going to have to machine this afterwards. Alright, and there you go. So I'm going to do another video quickly on Keyshot, how to render this ring. This project was a bit long, and I hope you learned something. I certainly learned a lot doing it. So I'll see you again. Cheers.